What's going on, everybody? UCF Jaguar back here with GenJag.com, and we are 2 days away from the NFL draft, and I thought, why not just throw out a first round mock? Now, with this mock draft, I basically did it to where there are not any trades. It's very close to impossible to really be able to predict where teams are going to be trading, so I think that this draft, there are going to be a lot of trades in the top 5, top 10 of the draft just because, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are, rated as first-round talent. So, yeah, like I said, in this video, just going to do picks 1 through 32. Now, don't go too hard on me because I kind of just threw this list up tonight and just figured I'd get it out there because, everyone loves a mock draft, and I did one for the channel last year. I got a few of them right. I predicted, Myles Garrett to go to the Browns, Leonard Fournette to go to the Jaguars. I got Jonathan Allen Solomon Thomas to the 49ers. I also predicted Deshaun Watson over to the Houston Texans, and so on and so forth. So let's hope with this one, I'll be able to get some correct predictions. So just so you guys know, I will put some the timestamps down below for where you guys can go, find your team's pick. Now, without further ado, let's get it. Now, with the first pick in the NFL draft, it's pretty much an assumption that the Browns will be going quarterback, but it's all about which quarterback they're going to be going to get. Now, you hear a lot of stuff about whether Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. Seems like they're going to be the two guys that are kind of slotted in the spot. But, my quarterback rankings, I have Baker Mayfield, then Josh Rosen, then Lamar Jackson, then I have Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. So I'm going to go ahead and go with my board. Go with kind of an unpopular pick that you're not really seeing in any mini mock drafts, but I'm going to get the Browns to go Baker Mayfield. Now, I really like Baker Mayfield as a player. If this guy was like 2-3 inches taller, I think he'd be like the consensus #1. It's kind of unfair to compare him to Johnny Manziel just because, they have kind of like a similar kind of, they put out kind of a similar demeanor, but I do think that Baker Mayfield does care a lot more about the game than Johnny Manziel does, and I think Baker Mayfield is going to be really good in the NFL. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Browns to take a guy like Baker Mayfield. Now, with the second pick in the draft, we have the Giants. I think this might be a position that the Giants might trade out of. Could they go quarterback? You never know. It's all just depends on how much Dave Gettleman likes. Whether he likes like Eli Manning. Now, I think Eli Manning still definitely has a few years left. I mean, you have players like Tom Brady playing like when they're 41. You have like Drew Brees playing into his 40s, like Ben Roethlisberger like 39. You have some like quarterbacks that are really extending their playing careers, but what will the Giants do here? I had them kind of making a splash New York kind of move and going Saquon Barkley, the running back out of Penn State. Now, there's a lot of rumors about them maybe taking like Sam Darnold, but I think that they're going to stick with Eli Manning for a couple years. They still think that they can win with a guy like him. I think they're not going into rebuild mode, so they're going to want to get a player to help immediately. Now, they will have to get some offensive line help to accompany this draft move, but Dave Gettleman didn't have any problem taking Christian McCaffrey with like pick 8 or 9 last year, so go with Saquon Barkley, a really good prospect. He's being touted as like the best prospect in the draft, so I had the Giants taking Saquon Barkley. Now, with the number 3 pick in the draft, we have the New York Jets, who traded up with the Colts, and they gave up like 2 second-round picks and a third-round pick to get this position, and they are no doubt going quarterback. So I have them taking Josh Rosen. I think either Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen will end up in New York, and Josh Rosen, he's a pretty clean prospect. He's very, very good mechanics. He's a fluid passer, very accurate passer. There's some questions about his whether really his like love for the game of football and stuff like that, but if you look at him on the film, he's a very good player. So I think Josh Rosen will end up with the New York Jets if Baker Mayfield is already taken. Now the Browns are back at the number 4 overall pick after they acquired the trade from last year's draft where the Texans went up and traded up for a guy like Deshaun Watson. So Texans were terrible this year, so they wound up giving up their number 4 overall pick in this year's draft. So with this pick, because Saquon Barkley is gone, I will have the Browns selecting defensive end Bradley Chubb to pair up alongside Myles Garrett. Now, Myles Garrett was really the only good part of the Browns' pass rush last year, and they just got to get better, and it all starts with the trenches. They've got a pretty good offensive line. Obviously, they made some moves getting, some like wide receiver help like Jarvis Landry. You also got, running back like Carlos Hyde. Also, obviously, traded for Tyrod Taylor. But let's go to the defensive side here. Get a pair of bookend defensive ends to pair up with Myles Garrett. Bradley Chubb and Myles Garrett. It could be a very, very dangerous duo over there. And they just need to get better at their pass rush and just their defense in general. So get a guy who can go out to the pass rusher, get the top guy on the board. So we'll go with Bradley Chubb with this pick. Now at the number 5 pick, we have the Denver Broncos. Now the Denver Broncos could very well go quarterback with this pick, but they did sign Case Keenum to a pretty expensive 2-year deal, and I don't think John Elway is going to be the guy who's patient enough to go through another losing season. So I think he's going to want to get a guy to help him right away. And I think that, after trading away Aqib Talib, I think they're going to wind up getting a cornerback from Ohio State, Denzel Ward. I think that the foundation of the team, the reason why they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago was because they had a really good defense. And, I think that they're going to continue with this good defense and get a cornerback. They obviously need some offensive help, definitely, but got to go with one of the best players on the board. They could very well go with like Quentin Nelson with this pick, but I think that John Elway will want to make a little bit splashier move and get a guy like Denzel Ward with this pick. Now drafting number 6 in the draft is the Colts after they moved back with the Jets, and it's really interesting with the Colts is because with the Colts, if their quarterback's name isn't Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, they're just a terrible team. They really don't have much talent right now. Luckily, they were able to, acquire a few picks. They're only trading back 3 spots. And, they're under the assumption that Andrew Luck will come back healthy. But it's really, it's hard to understand whether Andrew Luck's going to come back. I mean, he hasn't thrown a football in forever. And they're going out and drafting guys like, Phil Dorsett and stuff like that. They need to invest in offensive line to be able to help Andrew Luck in the case that he does come back. And their offensive line is terrible. I don't know if they did wind up ruining Andrew Luck. And, it's hard to think that if this guy hasn't thrown a football in like over a year, what will he be like when he comes back? Will he even be able to be the same player? But if they expect him to be the same player, you got to give this guy help. And you got to get one of the best guard prospects in this draft or in a draft in like so long, and that's Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame. He'll be able to help with the run game, help in pass protection, and just invest in the offensive line. You got to get Andrew Luck, got to protect him if he were to come back. And, if I were to put money on whether Andrew Luck would come back, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would bet money that he will come back. And, we had Jim Irsay last season saying that, they're not going to rule him out for week 1 of the 2017 season. Well, here we are in late April, and the dude still hasn't thrown a ball yet. So we'll see with that. But, got to take Quentin Nelson, guard, top prospect on the board. So, this would be a good pickup by the Colts if he's still available. Now, at the number 7 overall pick, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we will slot them for taking defensive back Derwin James. Now this one was a throw between Minkah Fitzpatrick and Derwin James, but the Bucs, they need help on the back end. It looks like Vernon Hargreaves might be a little more of a nickel cornerback. They need some like safety help. Derwin James kind of projects as that kind of guy, and he's just a physical beast. I mean, and he's also just an alpha. He can go in there and really be a leader of the defense, and this would be a really exciting pick for the Buccaneers, getting Derwin James at this pick. And the number 8 overall pick in this draft belongs to the Bears, and it's really tough to project what the Bears are going to do because every year they just kind of surprise you with what they do. You know, they last season, obviously, right at the beginning of the draft, they made a huge splash and trade up one spot for Mitch Trubisky, which was kind of mocked at the time. But, you know, if you really see your quarterback there, you got to go get him. So, and also a couple years before they went and got the, what's the guy, James White or whatever, the guy that came from West Virginia, the wide receiver. You know, he hasn't really done much, but, you know, the Bears are a tough team to project, but, you know, could they go linebacker? I don't know. Everyone's kind of projecting them to take like Tremaine Edmonds, but I'm going to go ahead and get them to get Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, this is a guy that could really play all over the field. You know, he can play, you know, cornerback, you know, nickelback. He can play like safety. I like him in a free safety role, but you know, get a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick in there. The Bears have always been kind of pride on their defense. The Bears did a lot of work this offseason to kind of give Mitch Trubisky some weapons, you know, getting a couple wide receivers like Allen Robinson, Gabriel out of the Falcons, also Trey Burton. They got a pretty good run game. Like, they could go guard here if Quentin Nelson is there, but, you know, I don't think they're going to reach for a guy. And get the best defensive player on the board and go ahead and get Minkah Fitzpatrick to do work in the secondary. Now, with number 9 overall pick in the draft, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and I have them taking linebacker Roquan Smith with this pick. Now, obviously, we all know what Reuben Foster did, some domestic violence kind of stuff, and it's looking like he's not even going to be on the 49ers next season. The guy has some real personal issues to really get into, which obviously sucks for the 49ers as they invested a first-round pick in a guy, but, you know, they're going to need some linebacker help. Now, I really wanted to put Courtland Sutton right here just because they really weren't, you know, they're not very good at wide receiver right now. But, you know, I think they have trust in Jimmy Garoppolo to be able to elevate the play of guys on offense, and I think they invest in defense with this pick, and if they can really have a stout defense and, you know, a really good quarterback in there, you know, they could be a good team and make a playoff run. So, and I'm going to go ahead and go Roquan Smith with this pick. I think he's a little safer of a pick than Tremaine Edmonds, and you know, I think they want kind of immediate impact at this spot. I don't know if Tremaine Edmonds, I mean, the dude's 19. It's just tricky for me to really get a young guy like that because I think he's going to have to transition a little bit in the league. And, you know, the 49ers, you know, expecting to have had Reuben Foster and really caught the speed in his second year, you know, at this position. But obviously that's not the case. So go ahead and get a guy like Roquan Smith, very good linebacker. I think that he's a lot safer of a pick than Tremaine Edmonds. So, yeah, I would go Roquan Smith with his pick out of Georgia. Now, with the number 10 overall pick in this draft, speak of the devil, I have the Raiders selecting linebacker Tremaine Edmonds with this pick. Now, linebacker's been a spot that the Raiders have needed help at for a while, but they've kind of not gone out and addressed, and I think they're going to have to this draft. You know, you got a guy like John Gruden in there who, you know, won a Super Bowl with Derrick Brooks back there. Tremaine Edmonds has an extremely high ceiling. You know, he's a beast. I mean, it's really hard to kind of have a pro comparison to him. The guy flies. He's got a, you know, good size, and I think that the Raiders finally can solidify their linebacker position and get a guy like Tremaine Edmonds in there out of Virginia Tech. Now, with the number 11 pick in the draft, now I think this could be a position that the Dolphins do try to maybe like trade up, but if they don't, this is going to surprise you guys a little bit, but I have Lamar Jackson going to the Dolphins. Now, I do have Lamar Jackson as a better prospect than both like Sam Darnold and Josh Allen. I just, you know, Lamar Jackson, he's from the Miami area, and the Miami Dolphins, they really just lack an identity on offense. You know, Ndamukong Suh's no longer on the team. Obviously, Jarvis Landry is gone. They traded away Jay Ajayi last season, and Adam Gase is an offensive genius, and I think that he could find a way to really build an offense around a guy like Lamar Jackson. It'd be really exciting for him to do something like that, and you know, I think that if the Dolphins like stay at this spot, I think that Lamar Jackson could potentially fall at this position. So, yeah, I got Lamar Jackson, quarterback out of Louisville, going to the Dolphins at pick number 11. Now at pick number 12, we have the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to wind up trading, up in this draft. And I think, they're pretty much, they have all these picks in the top 2-3 rounds of the draft. They have plenty of ammo to move up and get their quarterback. Right now they have like AJ McCarron in there. They have Nate Peterman. I don't know how much how much hope you'd have in Nate Peterman after his season last season. But I think that they'll wind up getting Josh Allen somehow. I think that he's the best fit over there, just a cold weather guy. But because Sam Darnold is still available, I'll go ahead and peg Sam Darnold to go to the Bills at this position. I think that they'll trade up and try to get maybe like Sam Darnold or one of these other guys. We'll see who kind of falls, but yeah, I mean, with my mock draft, I see Sam Darnold going there, but I think that Josh Allen will wind up, a Buffalo Bill in some measure. Now, at 13 overall, we have the Redskins, and I had the Redskins taking the defensive tackle out of Washington, Vita Vea, essentially going from the Pacific coast of Washington to the Atlantic coast of Washington, or the Atlantic coast of Washington. Vita Vea, defensive tackle. They got Jonathan Allen last season. Didn't really do much. He was hampered by injury. Only got 1 sack, and that was kind of one of his things coming out of the draft. One of the reasons why he falls is his medical issues. And Vita Vea, solidified the interior of their defensive line, be a good run stuffer, also a pretty decent pass rusher. I got Vita Vea going number 13 to the Redskins. Now at number 14 overall, we had the Packers selecting here. And I had the Packers going Calvin Ridley, wide receiver out of Alabama, first wide receiver off the board. And, I just see it as, Aaron Rodgers is kind of bitching about different stuff. And, they got rid of Jordy Nelson. I think that they tried to, get a good player in Calvin Ridley and also kind of satisfy Aaron Rodgers in a way. Calvin Ridley, I think he'll be a good fit over for the Green Bay Packers and just give Aaron Rodgers another weapon out there. Now at number 15 overall, we have the Cardinals. Now, I think that the Cardinals will definitely be going quarterback. I think the Cardinals are a team that can potentially trade up in a draft to get a quarterback, but being that there's 4 quarterbacks gone, I'll go ahead and slot them as picking Josh Allen. I think that they're a team that could potentially also get Lamar Jackson. But we'll see about that. But yeah, Josh Allen, quarterback is available there. Like I said, I think Cardinals will go quarterback in some capacity. So, being that Josh Allen is the best available quarterback here, I'll go ahead and slot Josh Allen in at this spot. Now, at number 16 overall, we have the Ravens. Now, I have the Ravens selecting offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey out of Notre Dame. Now, it'll be interesting to kind of see what they do here. There's a lot of people projecting wide receiver to go to the Ravens, but I see the Ravens as a team that wants to play some great defense and run the ball. And they got Ronnie Stanley a couple years ago in the 2016 NFL draft. Solidify the offensive tackle position at the other side. Get a big old dude like Mike McGlinchey in there. Great run blocker, great pass protector. He'll really help out in the run game. So, I think that the Ravens could, go this route early on and then maybe get a running back later in the draft. So, I think that they did enough. They did some stuff at, wide receiver position, getting like Michael Crabtree in there. So, I think that the Ravens will wind up taking Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame with this pick. Now at 17 overall, we have the LA Chargers. Now, I have the Chargers taking linebacker Leighton Vander Esch with this pick. Now, Gus Bradley, he's used to having some pretty good linebackers. He had Bobby Wagner over on the Seahawks, Telvin Smith over there on the Jaguars. You see their defensive line, it's pretty good. They have a really good duo of pass rushers in Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. They also have, Casey Hayward, very good cornerback, but I see them getting a good linebacker in there for Gus Bradley. They did some good stuff with their offensive line last season, getting both Dan Feeney and Forrest Lamp last year in the draft. And I just think that they go linebacker here. I think the Chargers could be a team that makes a playoff run. So could they go quarterback maybe to eventually replace Phillip Rivers? I think Phil Rivers still has a few years left in him. So, yeah, I got them going linebacker Leighton Vander Esch. Now, at number 18 overall, we have the Seahawks. Now, I wanted so much to really plug a cornerback like Josh Jackson here, but you look at the Seahawks and their offensive line is terrible. They've got to get some good offensive linemen in there. I have them going guard Will Hernandez here. You just got to get back to your old ways of how you actually won a Super Bowl through a dominant run game and good defense. Their defense is kind of falling apart. Their offensive line obviously isn't very good. They have Russell Wilson in there. To be basically, he was like, 70% of their offense last season. You got to get them some help with a run game. Russell Wilson can can really elevate the play of wide receivers around him. So, get an offensive lineman here. Go get guard Will Hernandez to be able to be a, road grading run blocker and, just make your offensive line better. So, yeah. Will Hernandez at 18 to the Seahawks. Now at number 19 overall, we had the Cowboys. And I had the Cowboys taking wide receiver Courtland Sutton out of SMU. Now, Jerry Jones is a guy who seems to make a lot of emotional draft picks. He brought, obviously Dez Bryant isn't on the team anymore. Dez Bryant is a guy from Oklahoma State. He grew up a Cowboy. And then now you have a guy with a very similar traits as a guy like Dez Bryant, and you have Courtland Sutton there. He's out of Texas also, SMU, pretty close to, Dallas, Texas. And like I said, it just seems like to make so much fit. And Jerry Jones is an emotional kind of dude. He wanted to draft Johnny Manziel a few years ago. Right now, the Cowboys wide receiver core is pretty shaky. I mean, the Jaguars cut Allen Hurns because he might have been the 5th best wide receiver on a team. But over on Dallas, he might be the best wide receiver on their roster right now. So go get some wide receiver help. Go get Courtland Sutton, a huge alpha number 1 wide receiver in there. To be able to help the pass game and Prescott. Now at number 20 overall, we had the Detroit Lions. Now the Detroit Lions, they've been like skating around 8-8, 9-7, always kind of like barely missing the playoffs. And, their team is really built through the passing game. However, they have not many good running backs. I mean, their primary running back right now is LeGarrette Blount, who's very, very old, has so much mileage on him. I had them going Darius Geis, running back out of LSU, second running back out of LSU to be drafted in the first round in the last 2 years. And, just get a good running back in there to be able to finally establish some kind of running game. They have Matt Patricia over there on defense. He'll be able to hopefully coach some of those guys up. And, you just got to get a good running back in there. They're a team that had Barry Sanders and, not many good running backs since him. So, yeah, I have them going Darius Geis at number 20. Now, at number 21 overall, we had the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals are a team that invests pretty heavily in skill positions. Last year they went and got John Ross with the first overall pick, went and got Joe Mixon with the second pick, pays guys like, Eifert, also, AJ Green and stuff like that. But they really have lack of regard for their offensive line. They let Whitworth walk in free agency last year. Also let Kevin Zeitler walk. And it left a huge hole at their, offensive line. So I had them going James Daniels, center out of Iowa over here. Just got to get some offensive line help. Sometimes your offense is only as good as their offensive line. So they got to finally invest in the offensive line. So go ahead and get James Daniels here. Now at number 22 overall, we have the Buffalo Bills. Now, I do not think that the Buffalo Bills are going to have this pick this year because I think they're going to help package this pick to move up in the draft. Now, I'll go ahead and say the Bills, I don't know. I'll just say they draft Connor Williams, even though they just traded the left tackle out, to go get, traded Cordy Glenn out to, kind of acquire one of these picks. So, I'll just go ahead and put Connor Williams here just for the hell of it, offensive tackle out of Texas. Now, 23 overall is the Patriots. Now, this is when things get a little more complicated because there's still a lot of good players on the board that I'm going to have to leave out of the first round. But, yeah, the Patriots at pick number 23, there's a lot of talk about them maybe getting quarterback. But I think that will just piss Tom Brady off. I think they're going to try to make a Super Bowl run while they still have Tom Brady. So go ahead and get Mike Hughes, cornerback out of UCF. Very good cornerback, very good cover guy. It'll be a very good move by the Patriots. You know, they lost Malcolm Butler. You know, they got to get some cornerback help in there. So go ahead and get a good cover cornerback in Mike Hughes. Now, 24 overall, we have the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers, their defense really hasn't been the same since Josh Norman left. So I'm going to go ahead and get them to get Josh Jackson, a big long arm cornerback. You know, I think that he'll be a good addition to the Panthers at their you know, quarterback spot. Now, it's tough to predict the Panthers just because, you know, they just lost Andrew Norwell in their offensive line, you know. Their wide receiver core is still a bit shaky. But yeah, let's go ahead and give them Josh Jackson to be able to help out their defense. Now, the 25 overall pick, we have the Tennessee Titans. And I had the Titans getting great value here and getting defensive end Harold Landry from Boston College. Now, if you look around at the AFC South, you know, you have the Jaguars who have a very good pass rush. And you have the Houston Texans who have also a very good defensive line. So those are your teams you kind of got to go up and catch when it comes to that. And, you know, if you get Harold Landry, you can pair him up with Brian Orakpo and have two really good duo of defensive ends. If you look at kind of the other premier positions on a defense, you know, you have cornerback. You know, they invested in Malcolm Butler. They also have Adoree Jackson out of USC, who had a very good season last year. And, you know, obviously have like Jonathan Cyprien and stuff like that. Now, at number 26 overall, we had the Atlanta Falcons. And I had them getting also really good value here and getting Daron Payne, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Now, they had a couple of interior linemen leave through free agency. And, you know, they have Dan Quinn over there, who's a defensive line kind of guy. So, yeah, I mean, obviously last year they went defensive end and got Takk McKinley. I think they keep up with the pass rush and build their defensive line even more and get Daron Payne out of Alabama. Now, at 27 overall, we have the New Orleans Saints. And, you know, they're a team that is really built to win a Super Bowl. Now, I had them taking Hayden Hurst, tight end out of South Carolina. Now, they are a team that, you know, did very well when they had Jimmy Graham, but they signed Coby Fleener. He hasn't really been able to help out much, and Hayden Hurst gives you a versatile weapon. You know, he can take the ball in reverses, he can block, he can open up the middle of the field, and just the Saints offense, it could just be so dangerous with a guy like Hayden Hurst. He's my favorite tight end in the draft, so yeah, I have the Saints going tight end Hayden Hurst. Now, at 28 overall, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you know, we have I haven't taken Mason Rudolph. Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger, I think it's very well his last season. You know, I don't think he has really much fun playing football anymore. You know, he just looks like he's really just not into it, but he just has so much talent around him where I think it just forces him not to retire. So, yeah, I got them taking a quarterback of the future in Mason Rudolph for them. You know, a big guy, big prototypical quarterback. So, yeah. The Steelers get their quarterback of the future in Mason Rudolph. Now, the 29 overall pick, we had the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it's so hard to project what the Jaguars are going to do just because they don't really have many glaring holes. Now, you know, four of my kind of wish list players are, you know, guys like Courtland Sutton, also Hayden Hurst, Mike McGlinchey, and Will Hernandez. But they are all taken. And, you know, I'm tempted to give them Dallas Goedert with this pick just because he's a good blocker and, you know, he can catch passes as well. But I'm not a big fan of small school guys, to be honest with you. You know, I know there are obviously some successful small school guys, but it's just a little bit scary to me. It's going to take them a little bit to transition into the NFL. And, you know, my first round pick, I don't want much transition time. I want a guy to give me immediate impact. So with this pick, they could very well go offensive lineman, but I want to go a little bit more fun than that. I'm going to go ahead and peg them with getting Christian Kirk, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Now, the Jaguars, they like to move. They made it clear during the, you know, pre-draft luncheon that they like to have wide receivers that they like to move around. And I think Christian Kirk can be a guy who plays all over the place, but I think his best position is in the slot, and the Jaguars haven't had a true slot wide receiver in I don't know how long. You know, we tried to kind of put Allen Hurns in that position, but it's not really his natural position. And just getting a good guy that can play the slot quarterback, a sure-handed guy, a really strong dude to be able to open up the middle of the field that we can really trust to give them the ball. And it gives us some, special teams option, as now all of a sudden we have a guy like D.D. Westbrook and Christian Kirk that can return punts, and it doesn't force us to keep a guy like Jaden Mickens on the roster. So it just gives us tons of versatility. One thing that Tom Coughlin said when he drafted Leonard Fournette was, we need to find more guys that can put the ball in the end zone, and we don't have enough of those guys. So I still don't think we have enough of those guys. So Christian Kirk, very good player, and I think that he could be a really good player in the NFL. Just a strong dude. Doesn't have much size, but with Cortland Sutton gone, I think Christian Kirk could be a good pick here. Now, number 30 overall pick, we have the Vikings. Now, the Vikings obviously paid a lot of money to Kirk Cousins, and on their defense, they have a lot of guys that are going to be heading to contract years. So you got to kind of replace some of this talent that's going to be too expensive for you. So I had them taking Jair Alexander, cornerback out of Louisville. Just keep the defense strong. Get a guy that you can, just help out the defense. So yeah, Jair Alexander. Vikings could go so many different directions with this. It's hard to project them. They could even go offensive line, but we'll see. Now, the number 31 overall pick, we have the New England Patriots. And go ahead and give Tom Brady some help and draft very good guard Isaiah Wynn out of Georgia. Tom Brady has to be a little bit pissed off with a lot of the stuff that's going on with just a bunch of his guys is leaving. Nate Solder, LeGarrette Blount. They also had Dion Lewis, Danny Amendola. Go ahead and get, solidify the offensive line a little bit so he doesn't get us hurt in there. So go ahead and draft Isaiah Wynn, guard out of Georgia. Now, at number 32 overall pick, we have the defending Super Bowl champions, the Eagles. This is another pretty tough team to project because they are pretty good all around the ball. But I'm going to go ahead and get them some good value in getting a guy like Isaiah Oliver. They had one dude basically, get into some trouble, and, the cornerback is no longer really on the team. So like Isaiah Oliver, I think he'd be a good pick for the Eagles over here. The Eagles, they could also go wide receiver. They could go running back. They could maybe even go, offensive line. It's another really tough team to project, so I'm going to go ahead and get them some good value in a guy like Isaiah Oliver. So yeah, those are kind of my picks. Go ahead and hate on me in the comment section below, but also just keep in mind that I put this together real quick. So yeah, I just put it together tonight. So yeah, and be sure to join me for my live stream of the NFL draft on Thursday. It's going to be a ton of fun. So yeah, this is UCF Jaguar here with GenJag.com, and I'm out. If you from a city, holla, Duval.